Good afternoon. My name is Jen Neubauer, and I serve as Associate Vice Chancellor for Alumni Relations at Urbana-Champaign and President of the University of Illinois Alumni Alliance. And I would like to welcome you here this afternoon and to say thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be a part of this event. Before we begin lunch, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of the individuals we have here with us this afternoon. First, I would like to acknowledge University of Illinois Foundation Executive Vice President Ed Ewald, Vice Chancellor for Institutional Advancement Barry Benson, and Senior Associate Vice Chancellor for Advancement Susan Lee. Dean of Libraries and University Librarian John Wilkin has joined us today, as has Associate Chancellor for Public Affairs Robin Kaler. From the University of Illinois Alumni Alliance Board of Directors, we have Prabha Parmaswaran and Julie Scott, and from the Illinois Alumni Association Board of Advisors, we have Carrie Casper, Maureen Durick, and Kathleen Knight. Would you please join me in a round of applause for these distinguished guests? We have an extraordinary panel discussion planned for you this afternoon, but first I'd like to invite you to enjoy your lunch, and I'll be back in a little bit to get things started. Hello again. If I could have your attention, please. Thank you all very much. It's now my great privilege to introduce Illinois Chancellor Dr. Robert Jones, who will be moderating this afternoon's panel. Chancellor Jones came to Illinois in the fall of 2016 after 3 years as president of the University of Albany, following a 3-decade career at the University of Minnesota, where he served as professor of agronomy and plant genetics, executive vice provost, and senior vice president for academic administration. We'd like to think of Chancellor Jones's arrival at Illinois as a return to his Big Ten roots. And in his short time at Illinois, he has already made a significant impact. Speaking personally, Chancellor Jones's leadership was key in helping us create the new Illinois Alumni Association. And as a very proud alumna, I look forward to seeing where his vision will take us in the coming years. Please join me in welcoming the 10th Chancellor of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, Robert J. Jones.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. ILL. I knew that would get your attention. So thank you, Jen, and thank you to the Illinois Alumni Association for organizing all of the Illini Days celebrations here in Chicago this week. With more than 200,000 alums calling Chicagoland home, this is certainly the biggest concentration of Illinois graduates on the planet, and I think you need to give yourselves a round of applause. You are truly amazing, and your support for your university is outstanding. So thanks all of you who came out today to help us all be reminded of just how important Chicago is and just how deep orange and blue runs through this important, most innovative city, I think, in the country. You literally can't go down the street here without running into Illinois graduates or come across Illinois-inspired discoveries or Illinois-connected companies. In fact, I understand on Wednesday, the Marching Illini even took over the Chicago River. I certainly hope that you had a chance to see and appreciate that. While your university, for the last 151 years, has physically located in Urbana-Champaign, we think it's strategically important in the next 150 years that this great university has a strategic and high impact presence in the city of Chicago. And I can tell you right now, we're going to be working very, very hard to make sure that your university has greater visibility and greater impact in this great city in the months and the years ahead. As the state's flagship university, we have an obligation, I believe, to serve the people of the state. But we also have a greater obligation, perhaps than we've exercised in the past, to serve people in great cities. Because I believe fundamentally in what Bruce Katz predicted 10, 15 years ago, that we are in an urban age. And even though we are a classic land-grant university, we believe that part of our mission clearly has to be framed around how we will have an impact in this great city. And that is something that we believe is the embodiment of the land-grant mission for the 21st century. It means that everyone in Chicago should get accustomed to seeing more orange and blue in the months and the years ahead. And I think some of you probably know by now that last week I delivered my second State of the University address. And I enjoyed giving it so much, I think I'm going to give it again today. No, I'm only joking. However, I do think that there were several elements of that speech that are quite compelling. And I just want to share some of the elements of that. So this is the Reader's Digest version, if you will. I reminded our faculty and our staff that last year, my first full year as the chancellor of this great university, after having spent about a year and a half really getting to know the university, I came to the conclusion that we had great potential. And this year, after some time of analysis and just studying the issue, it's very clear to me that this year the university has momentum. We have great momentum. And we have to use that momentum to take control of our fate. We're not waiting for someone else to solve the problems that are holding this great university back. We're not even waiting on the problems that are holding the state back. We have to take control of our own destiny. We're reaching out very actively, and we're identifying those issues and problems, and we are solving them ourselves. And let me tell you, folks, that kind of attitude changes everything. Let me give you just a few examples of what I mean by momentum. This fall, I think some of you have heard by now, we welcome the biggest and most diverse freshman class in the history of the university. With over 7,600 first-year students. It included also, I certainly hope you will appreciate this, the largest number of Illinois residents that we've had in the last decade. And since we are very big on the notion of accessibility and affordability, we were pleased to learn that once again, more than 1 in 5 of those students are first-generation college students or so-called underrepresented minority students. So those two variables are what we're about as a land-grant university. We are working very hard to make Illinois education and Illinois education affordable and accessible. So this fall, we introduced the Illinois Commitment Scholarship Program that guarantees 4 years of free tuition. And folks, free means free. I've had to explain that several times since that announcement. For some people think it's a big PR scheme that Robin Kaler cooked up, but I assure you that it's not. Free means free. And this is a commitment to Illinois residents with a family income of $61,000 or less. And this is critically important, folks. We believe it's a game changer because we know that far too many very well qualified students don't bother about applying to Illinois because of sticker shock. And because they think, why should I apply if I can't afford it? And so we want to change that paradigm. We're also going to leverage the new state Aim High Merit Scholarship Program to provide more financial support and relief to middle-class families as well. Because as I told the group last night, and I think many people will agree with this, you know, middle income is not what it used to be decades ago in terms of affordability. We know firsthand if you're middle income, you know, make 150 down to 75,000 a year or so, if you have more than one child in college, then you're in the same financial predicament as the families that make 61,000 or less in terms of affording a world-class education at a university like Illinois. So these two programs, where we will address low-income families, moderate-income families, to make sure that those who have worked hard and prepared themselves have access to an Illinois education. So we're very, very excited about that and very, very excited about what this is going to do for the future of our role in educating the citizens of the state. Just want to also include some recognition of a couple of our faculty members, and this is part of the momentum that I was talking about as well. We had Professor Rebecca Sanderford, one of our faculty members who won the MacArthur Genius Award in October. She was just the 8th person in our history to win this award. And another faculty member that some of you probably have heard of him, some of us call him the B Professor, Gene Robinson, who received the Wolf Prize in Agriculture this summer. And for those of you who don't know much about ag, that is considered to be the Nobel Prize in Agriculture. And if that wasn't enough for Gene, a few months later, he was nominated for membership in the National Academy of Medicine. And folks, that's almost unheard of to receive both of those awards within the same 12-month period, or ever, to be honest with you. So, yes, they deserve a round of applause. And I think you all have heard by now that we just came off of one of the most successful fundraising years in our history. The most successful year in our history. And thanks to Barry Benson and his team and the development people across the colleges, the deans, our faculties, and alums like you, we raised $415 million last year. Folks, that's a lot of money, even in today's terms. And I know Larry Geese's gift was very transformative, and we certainly hope we can generate more like that. But even if you were to back Larry's gift out, we still had an amazing year raising more money than we've ever raised in our history. And we're very, very proud of that. And we are proud because we know that happens because of you, each and every one of you stepping up to the plate, digging a bit deeper, hopefully because you see that this is a university that's on the move. It is gaining momentum, it is gaining stability, and we can't wait to see what the next 150 years look like at this great university. And because of that effort, folks, we are more than 60% toward reaching our goal of $2.25 billion. In fact, I think the last number I saw from Barry said we're about 64% toward reaching that goal, and we still have about 3.5 years left to go. So these are very, very exciting times here at this university. We're very, very excited to be here in this community. And let me close with just a few other things about this momentum thing that I keep talking about. I can't tell you how many times in the more than 2 years that I've been here where I participate in gatherings like this. And the recurring question to me, well, we don't brand and market this university. We just don't see any kind of concerted effort to tell the story of this amazing university. And you know what? You're absolutely right. I think I said to those of you that posed that question, I agree with you. And somebody kind of suggested once that if you keep talking about this branding and marketing things, you're going to brand and market your way out of here. But, you know, it's not the first time I kind of didn't take a recommendation. And so we're very pleased to make you aware that at this juncture, we are very, very close. We're only weeks away from hiring the first Chief Branding and Marketing Officer at this university, and we're going to be embarking upon our first ever national reputation and branding and marketing campaign. And folks, this is critically important to our future because we have an amazing story to tell. I probably wouldn't be so excited and demanding about this if we didn't have this amazing story that we keep locked up in the closet. And occasionally on events like this, we bring it out and we talk about what we've done over here and what we've done over there. We have an amazing story to tell, and we're going to stop being Midwest modest. We're going to stop being bashful about telling the story of this amazing university. And I tell people it's not bragging if it's true. Anyway. So let me close by saying I can promise you that we are going to become more visible and more engaged with this vital community because our future depends upon it. And I am very pleased and deeply humbled to serve as the chancellor of this great university. So let me now move to the next phase of our program here. That is to talk about what does it mean about having momentum in the context and in the framework of our 15 colleges. You know, the momentum that I talked about is clearly driven by and drives right through each and every one of those 15 colleges. So today we're extremely pleased to have with us today 5 of our deans who we're going to engage in a conversation about a number of issues, and I certainly want it to be a conversation so you can get a deeper understanding at the collegiate level. What does momentum mean? What does all of these great things we've been talking about, what does it mean for them as the leaders of our collegiate unit? So we're very pleased to have us today, and I'm going to, as I call their names in alphabetical order, I ask you to take the stage, please. We have with us today Vikram Amar, the Dean of the College of Law. Vic, glad to have you with us. We also have Kevin Hamilton, the Dean of the College of Fine and Applied Arts, with us today as well. Very pleased to have with us Feng Sheng Hu, the Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And last but certainly not least, I think she's the newest appointed dean, Tracy Sulkin, the Dean of the College of Media. Tracy, glad to have you with us as well. Please have a seat. So again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule, particularly this time of year, to participate in this conversation with some of our most critically important supporters and alums of this great university. And I'm very serious about hopefully keeping this a conversation. I'm going to start with a few questions, and please feel free to add on or to rebut anything I might say or your colleagues might say, but let's try to remain in our seats so we don't want this debate to get too heated. Let me start by asking the following question. In my State of the University address, as I've said here this afternoon, I do fundamentally believe that we have tremendous momentum. I can feel it, folks. At the beginning of the academic year, things just seem to be moving at a rapid pace. Things seem to be coming together very seamlessly. So I want to ask each of you just to take a moment or two to reflect on that question and give us examples of what momentum looks like from your individual college's perspective. And I certainly hope that you feel that there's momentum within your academic units. But we'll start with you, Vic. What does that mean for the law school?
Well, first of all, thank you, Chancellor Jones, for convening this conversation. I'm kind of a basic fundamentals guy. So when I think of what makes for a great college of law, I think about training leaders of the legal profession and generating cutting-edge knowledge and scholarship. So I look at the College of Law, and what I'm most pleased about is the fact that over the last 4 years, I don't know of another university law school in the country. There may be a few. I'm not saying there isn't, but I certainly don't know of one that have improved the caliber of their incoming students, improved their bar pass rate, their placement rates, as much as we have. So if we're bringing in great people and we're training to the point where they're passing the bar and getting good jobs, I think we're doing we're doing our job. And then relatedly, we have as productive a faculty as ever before in scholarship. You mentioned Rebecca Sandifer, who has a courtesy appointment in the College of Law. Her primary appointment's in sociology, who just won the MacArthur Genius Award in the area of access to justice. We have bankruptcy scholars who are profiled in the Sunday New York Times all the time. So these are the areas where I'm most proud of, the teaching, the scholarship, and the inputs and outcomes. And then we're also beginning to build some momentum on our campaign that you mentioned earlier. We have our own component of that $2.25 billion, and we're making traction in that as well.
Thank you. Yes, Kevin.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Chancellor Jones, and thank you all for being here. It's really good to be here with such a great room full of alumni and supporters today. I would cite two examples of where we really do feel that momentum in our college. One is the new opportunity we're enjoying on our campus that few of our peers are enjoying to respond to the rising interest in design. Design as a process, design as a set of methods for serving publics, for making better opportunities for people, is on the rise on our campus, as evidenced by that there's a huge construction project going on right outside our School of Art and Design right now for the Siebel Center for Design. And that is going to be a hub for an effort like no other campus in this country has, which is that this new effort is going to see to making sure that every undergraduate student on our campus gets some aspect of design education, which is an amazing thing. There's nobody else doing that. It's going to be a grand experiment. We're going to have a lot to tell from what comes from this effort. So that feels like momentum right now, that everybody in our college is really tooling their work from the obvious places like product design and architecture all the way into music and theater. We're now turning ourselves to that new awareness of design among our students, turning our curricula to that direction as well. One other area I would cite that we're feeling the momentum is that our college is a very public concerned college. We design buildings we want to be useful. We want them to bring life to cities. We make performances that we hope will provide whole new ways of telling our stories. And right now, everywhere we go on campus, when we say, yeah, we're really interested in Publix, everybody says, yeah, us too. We've got a real focus on really being of value to the state and to the nation on our campus that feels like a synthesis of values. Mm-hmm. And for our faculty and students, when you have conversations about how you run an institution that are focused on values like that motivates people. So we've got some real momentum there too.
Great. Dean Hu, you are the dean of the largest collegiate unit on campus. You must have momentum at a massive scale at your place.
Chancellor. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Your question reminded me my most recent newsletter to my entire faculty and staff, which was sent out last week. And the sentence I started with in the newsletter is that our people never cease to amaze me. Truly, if I think about the past few months, you already mentioned my colleague Jim Robinson, who's in the audience. won a World Prize, which essentially is a Nobel Prize. And then a few months later, got elected into the National Academy of Medicine. Rebecca Sanderford is a faculty member of ours in sociology. And these are very prominent individuals, but we have many, many, many more, trust me. So a few years ago, when we didn't have a budget, I was worried about assistant professors applying for jobs at other places. So as an associate dean at the time, I created an award with the name of LEAP. It stands for Lincoln Excellence for Assistant Professors. And I thought that, it would be just a 2-year deal. I'll just stop it after the budget crisis will be over. And now we're over. We could have used more money still. But I continue this program because every year I have 5 awards to give out to assistant professors. And every year I have 40, 50 applications. And they're just so incredibly difficult to choose from. They're uniformly incredible. Great teachers, great scholars, doing all sorts of things for the community. It's truly, truly amazing. And now I'm in the middle of the promotion and tenure season, and so I get to read promotion dossiers all the time, and I trust what I say here. I'm so glad I'm not competing for a job with any of these people. It's inspiring. These people are just truly, truly inspiring. And on the student front, we have the biggest population of students on campus, as you can imagine, and this year we have just broken the 12,000 mark. No shortage of students wanting to come to study liberal arts and sciences. The placement rate, job placement rate of the student is outstanding for all programs.
Well, it's really a pleasure to be here and to see everyone today. I'm going to talk about an example of momentum that's really, really specific, but I think it illustrates the momentum that's taking place in the College of Media and colleges throughout campus. And that's that we've had an opportunity this fall to start some collaborative research spaces in the college. And I gave my colleagues one requirement for this. I said it needs to involve people from more than one department. And go to it, come up with some great ideas. We had a bunch of wonderful ideas, and one of them is a group of folks who are doing work on physiology, right? They're hooking people up to sensors and they're tracking their eyes. And there are folks from advertising who are interested in that, folks from journalism, people who study media and cinema studies and are interested in movement and film are there. And they're asking, how can we get graduate students involved? And then they're working on that. And then they're saying, can we build an undergraduate class around this, right, that brings students together? And then they're saying, can we work with our colleagues in AHS and social work and education to ask how people maybe who have disabilities process these sort of messages differently? And they're so excited that they wanted to start using the space before we have any furniture in it. So if you were in the south wing of the Armory this afternoon, you probably would see 10 or 15 of my colleagues sitting, as my 5-year-old would say, crisscross applesauce, right, on the floor there, thinking about building this new research effort, thinking about how we're going to involve our students in this. So.
Thank you. Thank you all. Well, as you heard me mention, we are embarking upon hiring a chief marketing officer and embarking upon a nationwide marketing campaign, but with a very strong focus here in Chicago, because we do have 200+ thousand of our most dedicated and successful alums here in this great city. So why do you think that it's important for us to do this, and particularly at the institutional level, but maybe even from the perspective of your individual colleges? What is this going to mean to you and the alums of your colleges as well? Let's start it the other way. We'll start with Dean Hu this time and work back this way.
Well, I mean, I think the important thing is if we don't tell our story, others will tell it for us, right? And, the Chancellor's talked about taking control of our future and thinking about momentum. And it's really important, I think, that not only we be doing things on campus, but we be thinking about how we tell everybody else about what we're doing, and how all of the collaborations that are going on are sort of come together to tell a broader story about the university, while at the same time we're telling our stories about our units and what we're accomplishing.
So I'm an active scholar and used to be a lot more active in research, and I would go out to other countries all the time, Japan, China, Kenya, France, Switzerland. I've been to many, many countries to give lectures. And one thing that always amazed me is that when I say I'm from, those days we always say UIUC, we now say Illinois, they would just say, wow, really, you are from UIUC. And when you say something like University of the Ohio University, people just say, what? So we are really, the Illinois brand is just so incredible in other countries. And yet here, we're losing students to adjacent states. The reputation of the University of Illinois here in Chicago is nowhere close to our international reputation. We have to do something. Our modesty is not helping us at all in this country.
No, it's not. So your point is that we're kind of an unknown entity in many ways in our own land, is what I hear you saying.
Absolutely, yeah. And you mentioned that at the college level, it's the same. We have what's known as the humanities crisis. The enrollment of the humanities units collectively has decreased by about 50% because many parents are just paranoid that their kids are not going to be able to find a job when they're done. But it's just so far from the truth based on the data we have collected over the last 3 years. The placement rate is somewhere between 86% to 93%. And we have to be able to tell this story. As the biggest college on campus, we used to have 3 people doing communications and marketing, or the entire college, 3 people. So one of the things I've done since I became dean last year is I doubled the size of the team, which is still small for such a big college.
Thank you. Kevin.
And we're talking about Chicago more than we have in my 17 years at Illinois right now. In our college, of course, our students have been coming back to Chicago, and many of them are here in the room. They're coming back here because they're coming here for work, but we're talking about Chicago because we're trying to reinvent the land-grant mission, right? This is another part of our common discussion on campus right now. You think about the land-grant history here as primarily one of universities serving state agricultural base. But if that is primarily a mission to serve the state, then shouldn't a land-grant university be a partner in imagining the health of a city, the transportation of a city, the education of a city, the jobs and social mobility present in a city that's available to everyone that needs to be available to? That's stuff that in our college we want to be a part of, and we have been for a long time, one researcher at a time, one small studio conducted up here at a time, but now we're thinking about it systematically, and so we're real grateful for that invitation, and we're going to be up here a lot.
Well, Robert, you asked, I think everyone intuits that branding is important and you want to get your message and your identity out there, but you asked why at the university level and why focused on Chicago. And my short answer is because those are 2 of our greatest assets, 2 of our greatest strengths. If you ask what distinguishes us from a lot of other very good Big Ten Midwestern universities, it's our comprehensiveness, our strength across the board, our depth in so many different disciplines, our interdisciplinarity when we're recruiting faculty and increasingly students, and it's the city of Chicago. What makes, I came from California. I said, well, what's different between Iowa and Illinois? Illinois is Iowa plus Chicago. You look at it demographically, that's what it is.
Write that down.
This is our portal to the world. More than half of my employers, my alums, many of my donors are here. This is the 3rd biggest and probably most diverse legal market in the country. That speaks for itself why I'd want to be there. Finally, I'd say, if you think about great universities, how many great universities or parts thereof do you know of where you know about a great pocket within a university, but you don't think about the university itself in overall great terms? Maybe you heard of the Wharton Business School before you heard of Penn, but that's the exception, not the norm. Good example. 10, 15 years ago, I saw a poll. It said, well, what do you think of Princeton's law school? And everyone said, oh, it's the top 10 law school. Princeton doesn't have a law school. But Princeton is a great university, and that's what branding does for you.
Thank you, Dean. I agree. And I'll have to make sure I check this quote. Absolutely. got to make sure I wrote that quote down appropriately
Don't
here.
quote me.
I won't.
You go wrong quoting me.
I won't say that in
marketing
Des
officer with
Moines,
that.
I assure you. As I said earlier, we really have are just coming off one of the record-breaking fundraising years in our history. And that's critically important in a number of ways because I do think it signals momentum, it signals commitment, even coming off a 25-month budget crisis to take the quantum leap like we did in terms of fundraising really speaks volumes for this great university. So how does this level of historic support from our friends and our alums, how is it going to impact your students? How is it going to impact your faculty? How will it impact the strategic vision that you're developing in your individual colleges? We'll start with Kevin this time and go this way and then back.
Okay. I'm happy to start. I can give a real specific example. We just had one of the greatest occasions you can have in a college, which is to endow a professor. We just endowed Professor Dee Ruggles of the Department of Landscape Architecture. And she's got this great new collection of resources she can use now to do her research. But do you know the first thing that she decided to do with it was to take a group of students on a trip, on a research trip.
That's nice.
I mean, it's an amazing example there of where the gift of a friend of the department has made possible an elevation of a woman, of an incredible scholar, a woman of just great intelligence. She actually works on Islamic architecture, which is and helps us understand some of the differences that happen at that very level of how we organize our cities and our built environment in our current planet. And now she's taken students over to see these spaces firsthand with that gift. It's a great example of the marriage of teaching and research in the context of that kind of stewardship and giving.
Great, thank you. Dean?
I can give you a very long list of things. We just had a scholarship event, just truly inspirational. Student speakers, people were in tears, deeply moving stories. But I want to say that my most important item that under the category is the renovation of Outgate Hall and the rebuilding of Illini Hall, in part because every year we have thousands and thousands of students going through these two buildings because the two buildings house the Department of Statistics and the Department of Mathematics. Now, to give you an example how high the student demand is, the acceptance rate for statistics, it's about 5 to 10% for the PhD program, and their undergraduate program has increased by tenfold in the last 10 years. These two buildings are just beautiful from outside, especially Outgate, but interior. If you go inside, it's pathetic and embarrassing. We have housed, and this is true, I've seen that. We have put two assistant professors. One received a PhD from Harvard, the other one from Penn. And they were in cubicles in the hallway because we just didn't have the space to put them. And so with the new resources, I'm just so excited that the campus has made a commitment to renovating Outgate and rebuilding Illini. These two buildings are going to put us on the map for data science. They're going to leave wonderful impressions for the future students for decades to come.
Okay, thank you. Tracy?
I think that often public universities, our faculty and students, sometimes we start from a position of having to say no to things, right? And I think with Alumni Help, it helps us build a culture of being able to say yes to things, right? So a student wants to travel to a conference. We can say yes because we have support for that. Or our colleagues want to hire a great new assistant professor who has an offer from somewhere else, and they'll be transformative here, and we can compete with that offer. We can give them resources. So, and I think, that idea that we can do things spills over, right? It spills over into an attitude of people feeling inspired and people looking for new things to do that they might not have thought about before. And so I think, our alums gifts help in ways that are tangible, but also really support the culture in intangible, but even perhaps more important ways.
So, we're blessed to have a dozen or more endowed professorships or so in the College of Law. I need a few more to make sure that my faculty doesn't get poached. Many of my faculty get offers every year, and you want to keep the people who are in demand. But considerably more than half of the money we're trying to raise at the College of Law in this campaign is devoted to student scholarships. It's about access, it's about affordability. People come to law school now with much more undergraduate debt than they ever had before. The Illinois commitment is a one way to help address that. But the reality is, as I talk to alums, I talk to my colleagues at other peers and competitors around the region and the country, the University of Illinois was blessed by the generosity of the state of Illinois for many, many decades. And as a result, we didn't make the case as early as other schools did, as Michigan did, as Virginia did, as Notre Dame did, as WashU did, schools I got to fight with. And our alums have the capacity, they have the loyalty, they just need to be educated and they need to be asked, and it's all about making sure that we can get the best and brightest to come here, train here, and lead from here.
Good. Well, thank you all so much for participating in this, and as you can see, there are many questions I didn't get a chance to ask, but we are running out of time. But I certainly hope those of you in the audience feel as I do, that with these 4 colleges as examples of the momentum that we have at this great university, I am very excited about where we will go next as an institution to really advance our mission and to have the local and the global impact that you expect out of your university. So again, on behalf of the entire university community, thank you so much for joining us today, and turn it back over to Jim.
If you would, please join me in another round of applause for Chancellor Jones and our magnificent deans. And would you also join me in a round of applause for our pianist today, Simon Tiffin. Before the luncheon concludes, I want to thank you once again for joining us today. It was a pleasure spending time with you, and we hope you enjoyed hearing from Chancellor Jones and our deans. Before I announce our next guest, I'd like to take a moment to encourage you to get involved with the Illinois Alumni Association. In Chicago, we have the Chicago Illini Club and the Suburban Illini Club, as well as numerous special interest alumni groups. As you've heard from Chancellor Jones, the University of Illinois is committed to having a very deep presence in Chicagoland. And now is the time for you to deepen your connection with your alma mater, our alma mater. If you have any questions, please speak with me or any of our Alumni Association staff members who are here today. And now we have a treat for you. And before we send you on your way, joining us for a special performance is Dr. Barrington Coleman and the Varsity Men's Glee Club. The Varsity Men's Glee Club was founded in 1886 and is the premier all-male ensemble within the School of Music Choral Division. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
We are marching for dear old Illini, for the men who are fighting for you. Here's a cheer for our dear alma mater. May our love for her ever be true. While we're marching along life's pathways, may the spirit
Thank you all very much. First to Chancellor Jones, all of the distinguished contributors, all of you who are present today. I want to particularly thank those who made this event possible for us to join you. Some, including John Salvani of our U of I Foundation, David Allen, our School of Music Development Office, Laura Wilhelm Barr, Public Engagement, to Chancellor's Office. To all of you, we thank you. This is a privilege for us to be a part of this particular occasion because, as it has been said, we are the sphere. We are a part of everything that you contribute to. The University of Illinois Varsity Men's Glee Club celebrates, along with our Marching Illini, one of the oldest ensembles and student organizations on our campus at 132 years young. We represent the broadest and most diverse parts of our campus in terms of academia, in terms of culture. We have immersion that has been inspirational, not only within the ranks of this fraternal organization, but also to me. We give back. We are, part of our mission is also involved in philanthropy, not just here on our campus, but beyond. So it is a true privilege to get an opportunity to give back to all of you who give us so much throughout our time. We have just a little bit of what we generally do in our concert season. The first piece, of course, is our Illini Pride. Thank you for your encouragement. And this one is another song of brotherhood, the Edward Grieg Brothers Sing On.